All right, Andrew, thank you so much for your time. The season ended abruptly. Things are wrapping up. Just write an article which caught my attention. You gave Hyunjin Ryu A+. When was the last time you gave a player an A+?
For the Blue, it's been a long time. But I mean, I think Ryu had an outstanding season. You know, obviously nobody wanted it to end the way that it did. Those games happen, and it happened at a really high-profile time. But I mean, he was everything that the Blue Jays needed from him this year. I don't think that they should have any regrets about making that deal. I think they should feel great about who he is and who he's going to be for them in the future. And he was a pleasure to watch. He's I mean, as you know, I'm personally I'm just a fan of a guy who doesn't necessarily have overpowering stuff but still makes it work. And I mean, he's as good as anybody at doing that. You know, it's just a wide array of pitches that he can command every single one of them and keep everybody off balance. And it's really remarkable to watch. And I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to getting to watch him for the next 3 years after this.
Okay. His first couple of starts weren't all that great. He didn't come out of the gate like an ace. And obviously from his third start and on, he put together really impressive stretch. What were your first initial reaction after first couple of games when he didn't look all that impressive?
You know, I wasn't too concerned. I mean, I knew the background. I knew what he had done in LA, and also just because it was such a strange situation, right? And he's a guy who is dependent on routines, and it was such an abrupt start or the restart in July or summer camp or whatever, and it was just a strange moment for everybody. So I think I was willing, and I think most of my audience and most people I would say that I remember reading at the time, you know, were willing to give him some time and not be too concerned by those starts. But it was definitely good that he turned it around relatively quickly, and it didn't, become a narrative for the rest of the season.
The most impressive game by Hyunjin this year? Would it have to be the Yankee game?
Yankees game there in late September when, the Jays really didn't want to go into Baltimore with still not having a playoff spot locked down. And he was great. I don't think it was his biggest strikeout game of the year, but, you could probably put other games up against it. But that one for me was just the moment was so huge and important for them. The Yankees are just such a good ball club. Obviously, he just did his thing like they weren't even there. It was great.
I remember at that time, Fangraph had the Blue Jays 98.2% locked in terms of postseason berth. But I was hoping that maybe they could kind of slow him down a little bit at the Yankee game because the real season starts when the postseason starts. So what was your thinking? Do you think they made the right decision letting him pitch?
They did push him pretty hard there. I mean, I think it was his longest outing or his most pitches of the season, and then to have him sort of come up feeling a little bit sore afterwards was not great. And then we saw what happened in the playoffs. So maybe they could have handled that a little bit better. I mean, obviously, I think you're absolutely right that the playoff odds at that point were still incredibly high, but I think that they were really motivated to get it locked down properly and to not risk it slipping in any way, and he was the best option to do that, obviously. So I get it. Maybe he didn't need to go for as long as he did. It was a bit of a statement just to have it, to get him ready and to have him lined up so that he couldn't it looked like he wouldn't be able to get an extra day rest before he pitched in the playoffs. But of course, they shuffled things around a little bit and moved him back. Yeah, I was fine with that. I was fine with the way that they set up the rotation in the playoffs. It obviously didn't really work out very well, though. The Matt Shoemaker and Robbie Ray pitched really well in Game 1. But yeah, I think the criticism of the way they handled him there in that last start was definitely fair. And we saw what they did. Taiwan Walker pitched like 2-3 innings in his last start. It would have been nice for Ryu to just sort of get a taste and then make way for somebody else and maybe save his arm a little bit. Yeah. What
do you think is in store for Toronto Blue Jays this upcoming off season? Are they gonna go and get another pitcher? I mean, I read your article. You had some tough grades in there. What do you think is our Ross Atkins' priorities coming in the offseason?
Yeah, I think he would probably call it run prevention because there's definitely defensive improvements they can make, but it's hard. You look around the diamond, like their outfield is not great defensively, but they like those bats and they like those guys, and they're at a good stage in their contracts. And one idea that I'm working on a piece for is go out and get an elite shortstop maybe is a way to do it, and move Bo Bichette to second, and there's ways to improve defensively there. But I think the pitching is also obviously going to be something that they look to. Like they showed how much they value pitching at the way that they added guys at the trade deadline. Picked up like 3 starters basically. Only Ross Stripling is back, so there's definitely going to be a hole in the rotation, multiple ones probably. And then just the nature of pitchers is that you can never have enough because they're always getting hurt. So I think that they're definitely going to look in that area. They're going to hope that Tanner Roark pitches better than he did this year, which he's capable of, which he's done before. They'll definitely start looking probably on the pitching market as well. Yeah, I mean, I think you can get creative with the defensive stuff for sure. But if I was to say that they're going to make one big acquisition, it would probably be a starting pitcher again.
Do you have a better read on the ownership group with the Blue Jays? You obviously know the front office, how they work. Are they going to open up a wallet again? Do they have financial resources? Do you think they also have the willingness to kind of go out and spend some more money this offseason?
I think so. I think it's a good time. I think they should take advantage, because the ownership, Mark Shapiro is the club president, was on radio in Toronto last week calling it the strongest ownership in baseball. It's a multi-billion-dollar media and technology company, so they're not short for cash. It's really always about the willingness. The Jays rely more heavily maybe than any team on revenue from the ballpark. There's a chance that Rogers, which the company could choose not to spend, and could choose to point to the pandemic and the lack of revenue as a reason not to spend. But it seems like there are better reasons to think that they will. And just having spent the money on Ryu last year, where they are in the cycle, the fact that they could take advantage of the fact that other teams will have more reasonable cases to not spend, I think puts them in a really good position. They could really go and flex their financial muscle and have a really special off season. That's just something that here in Toronto is kind of like, we'll believe it when we see it. But that's what happened last year. I don't think anybody expected Ryu to end up with the Blue Jays, and it was a really exciting moment when he did. And so hopefully there's another one like that in store this year, because with him in place, with the young core around him, with what they did this season, the time is to start really going for it, I think.
Do you think Hyunjin will do better next year? Hopefully we could have a normal season with normal spring training without any kind of a shutdown or interruptions. Obviously he's going to be a year older, but what's your outlook on Hyunjin for 2021?
Yeah, I mean better. It's hard to do better than what he's done this year and what he did last year, right?
Right.
Definitely watching the velocity, which is a thing with any pitcher who's older. That was something that really set off alarm bells at the start of the playoff game, because if you looked at it, I was tweeting about this. If you just look at his average four-seamer velocity by game, the 2 lowest were his 2 worst starts of the year. So it's like, okay, when he can give a little bit extra on that fastball, it just makes a huge difference. And we know what happens with pitchers as they get older. That's not as easy to maintain, but obviously he's also a guy who doesn't live and die by his velocity. Like, he can do so many other things, and I'm sure can figure out ways, if it is diminished at all going forward, to still be incredibly effective. But better, I don't think so. If he's healthy, then he's going to be great, and the Blue Jays are going to be happy to have him.
Okay, postseason again next season for the Blue Jays?
I think so. Hopefully in Toronto, and hopefully not in Buffalo again. But
Right.
I'm not sure. The country to our south, we're still a little nervous about opening up the border just yet.
Yeah, right. All right, Andrew, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your work, and I'm going to be following you around because you have all the latest update, and thank you so much for your time.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, man.